All right, well, it looks like we're live, so we're just going to go ahead and get right into it, get kicked off. It took me a second to come through off of the highway, and I'll give you guys a little bit of an update on that. But first off, I want to welcome those that have been with us since the beginning back to our segment. Every Friday here at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, we host With the Self-Care Boss, Health and Wealth. And basically, our topics range from holistic health, that centers around people that are either in the space of it for their personal lives, for their professional lives. Sometimes we have guests that talk to us more on the entrepreneurial side, then they share their journey as a business owner. And every now and then we have guests that cross over in both, which basically means that they have a business or are an entrepreneur that focuses on some component in health and wellness. So the guests that we're able to bring in the studio, those are folks that are generally in or around the Colorado area. Those that are a little bit further out, we still know that they have so much value, and so we bring them into the room virtually as we do with our guests today. So that's a little bit about our show here, streamed on KUHS Denver every Friday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Of course, you have an opportunity to engage with us here on this segment, and you can do it a couple of ways. One is to like and give us questions or comments in the chat, hitting the share button on the video, since this is streamed on all of our platforms everywhere, or you can even text us, and there's a number that I haven't quite memorized, so I'll just read it off to you. That's 720-386-0513. No, that's not my personal cell phone. Yes, that will come through with comments or questions that you have, so feel free to drop those in anytime during our conversation today or next week, and we'll be able to loop that in. So I start off every segment, and this is something for you to know, Mikkel, is sometimes when you feel like you're going through it and life is just such a big struggle, you want to hear other people that are also facing those challenges. So I generally start off the segment with, here's what I've run into this week, so others can either feel at peace knowing that they too are suffering from something similar, or have not had a great week. So I have been running on full, it's like the weirdest week for everybody, right? Back to school, you've got a whole number of pageants that are happening. I think there's 2 that are going on this week right now, international and national ones. So it's a lot of things that are happening, and so you're just trying to be in all places at once. And so before I came over here, I didn't realize, I didn't check the weather app. I never do, because I'm always like, I'm gonna wear this whether it's raining or or if it's sunny out. And so I rushed out the door and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's starting to rain pretty heavily. Well, apparently we're under a torrential rain, like downpour, today and tomorrow. So I had no idea that that was a thing that's happening right now. If you're in Colorado, be sure that you buffer your time for where you're going places, because outside of the crazy traffic that we already have, all those other variables plus the rain, that is like the unsafest time to drive, is actually when it's raining. So just be super cautious when you're going out, and keep that in mind. So that's my negative from this week, and I hope that gives you some peace of mind and that you find some balance and harmony into your life. Our guest today I've met virtually, I want to say about 7 to 8 months ago, honestly, and she has been such a joy to get to know. Mikkel, let's tell people who you are, and let them get to see your warmth and how great you are.
Sure, thank you so much, Julia. My name is Mikkel Reed Carroll. I'm currently the owner of Carroll Crown Consulting, which is a pageant coaching and consulting business. Originally from Maine, I'm currently living in the DC metro area, but I've lived all around the world, everywhere from Nicaragua to Vietnam to most recently Croatia and Serbia, because my husband is a diplomat. And so we work at embassies and consulates around the globe, which has been really fun. But I do have to say that I'm really happy to be back in the USA, because sometimes it's just easier to get things done when you're in a place where you're speaking your native language and you're around things that are just a little bit more sort of normal and comfortable for you because you're used to them. So happy to be back in the USA. And again, like I said, I'm the owner of Carroll Crown Consulting, and I train women on how to win pageants. And I myself have been in the pageant industry involved for 25 plus years, from being a contestant to coach to judging occasionally. I've held the titles of World's Mrs. Tourism 2018, International Ms. USA 2020, and most recently, Ms. USA Universe 2022. And I'm really psyched to be speaking with you today and talking to and everyone out in Colorado, which is actually a state I've never been to, I'm ashamed to say, but I need to come visit.
Yes, well, now this is going to be the reason too, hopefully, and I can welcome you here when you choose to. But you are so accomplished. You've got so much that's on your plate, from not only being a career-driven woman, but a wife, a mother, and a mover and shaker, I would say, in the community. And that's how you've been able to parlay it into pageantry. So you talked a little bit about these titles, these pretty great titles that you've held. That has obviously resulted of some hard work that you've put into your life and into yourself. And so for the general people that aren't familiar with what the industry is all about, when we talk about pageantry and being in industry, can we try and dive a little bit deeper into what that means for them?
Sure. I think pageantry, number one, has really changed a lot over the decades. Like I said, I first got involved in pageantry when I was about 20 years old. Now I am almost 46, so it was quite a while back. And things have changed a lot. It went from really being an industry that I think a lot of people weren't happy with, because it did seem to just focus on sort of choosing beautiful women who also had great figures. Well, things have certainly evolved, and nowadays really most pageant systems, and there are a lot of them now, that's another thing that's evolved as well, are really looking for extremely, yes, they're still looking for attractive women, as most companies who are trying to hire a public spokesperson would, but they're looking for a well-rounded woman, someone who is both smart, accomplished, has a lot of great community service, and really has a message to either spread awareness about, or really wants to sort of shine a spotlight on something specific. And I think most of us in pageantry usually have something. For me, when I was competing, and still currently, I was involved in the American Heart Association, similar to you, because my mom is a 2-time heart attack survivor, and most women in my family have died at very young ages due to heart disease. And that's sort of what I started out with as my platform. And now a lot of pageantry really is platform and community service based. So I think that's probably one of the biggest differences in today's pageant world. And I think one of the things that has really changed and evolved in pageantry for that becoming a lot more important.
Totally, totally. And I'm so glad that you spoke to the length of time that you've been in the industry, which is the 26 years, because that is a testament of seeing what it was before and how it's continued to adapt and morph as those community needs and as society needs and standards have actually changed, right? And so what is, again, you highlighted something, and I know I'm like picking apart, and I know these answers because I've been around this, but I want people to really understand why we love why we do what we're doing, right? And what the behind the scenes and what it's all about. So you spoke briefly about how, and there's a lot of systems that are out there. People generally, when we tell them pageants, or what I've run into, is that they think of Miss America or whatever one that they may have seen broadcast on a network. How do we try and explain that they're different and they're not all the same, while it is the same industry umbrella?
Sure. I think the best way is just to say, you know, it's similar like going from one clothing store to another. Not every clothing store is going to have the same style of clothing. So it's similar to pageantry. Not every pageant has the same mission. A lot of them are looking for different things. I think most of us traditionally know the Miss USA and Miss Universe system. That tends to be looking for more of a model, supermodel type of woman. That really still is very much like beauty based, though they have also evolved, and now they have the slogan of confidently beautiful. So they're also looking for a more sort of well-rounded woman. And then there's Miss America, which is one of the oldest pageant systems, which is looking for a little bit more of a role model. And that's actually how I first got involved in pageantry, was through the Miss America system, competing at the local level in my home state of Maine. But there are so many different systems now. There are systems that focus on married women. There are systems that focus on younger women and teens. But really, I think most of them tend to have a mission of empowering women through giving them different opportunities. And that's something certainly that I think both you and I have experienced through pageantry, is a number of different opportunities, and the empowerment we feel through participating in pageantry and really being able to shine a spotlight on different things that we really are interested in and want other people to know about.
Absolutely, yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that. There's so much value outside of the presentation on the stage that is a whole process behind that, so is so fulfilling to the reason why we want to do it at the core. At what point did you decide, okay, I've been competing, I've been doing this for a while, now I want to try and be there for other women and really make this into a business opportunity, or create this into your own living, breathing entity that you can actually inspire others to do and follow in your footsteps?
Sure. So I first started doing some coaching around 2007. I moved to Hawaii, and one of the only people that I knew in Hawaii when I first moved there was actually one of my former Miss Maine judges, Larry Nakano, who at the time was an attorney in Hawaii and very much involved in the Miss Hawaii Scholarship Program. And so he had me help to sort of train some ladies that he was working with in pageantry, and I started assisting them with walking and stage presence and interview, those types of things, their talent presentation. And I really enjoyed it. I also did have experience in working at a bridal salon for about 5 years while I was in law school and immediately after as a stylist, and I loved being able to style people as far as their wardrobe. And as part of that, we also sold formal wear, so a lot of times I was assisting pageant women and choosing their wardrobe for evening gown and talent. And so for many years, I was helping people with pageants for free. And then as I got older, and then I won several national titles and an international title, and I realized as well, too, that people were still asking me for free services. And at that point, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I work for an embassy. So I have a lot of things going on in my own life. I said, you know, I really do want to help other women, but I also feel like I need to prioritize my time and really, you know, start charging for this.
Yeah.
So I decided to turn it into a business after I gave up or turned over my International Ms. USA crown after being International Ms. USA for 2 years due to the pandemic. And then decided that I would open my own coaching firm. And so far it's been great. I have a lot of knowledge, and I think one of the reasons I also wanted to pass it on was because I knew that I came into the pageant industry with very little knowledge, sort of a fish out of water, and I really wanted to help women try to avoid that as much as they could, that if they hired a coach, they could really sort of avoid all the pitfalls and mistakes and maybe fast forward their pageant careers a little bit. Like, I wish I had. That being said, you know, all the experiences that I had really were teaching moments for me where I learned a lot, gained a lot of experience, and win or lose, I always learned something from each and every competition that I participated in, as well as gaining, to be honest with you, some of the best friends that I've ever had in my life, and meeting some just amazing, incredible women that I'm also able to now network with. So pageantry and my journey into coaching has really just been incredible and provided me with so many opportunities.
Right. Well, and you've had the right mind space for it too. The mindset of win or lose, I've gotten something out of it. That isn't open. It's a flexible and ready to kind of accept and embrace what comes with it, the good, the bad, and kind of taking what you can out of it, as opposed to a mindset that I think most people assume in all contestants, that I just want to go after this title and I want to win. And I would say that that's not a very fair perspective. I don't see that very often at all with some of these women that are competing and I have competed with. Women especially have a hard time kind of putting a valuation on some of the things that they want to do or want to charge and start up. Did you at any point run into that when you were thinking, okay, I want to start up a coaching business? Was that ever in the back of your mind, are people going to accept this? Were you just, whatever, I want to do this, this is my passion? Or did you have that, support to feel like, okay, this is something that I should be charging on and I shouldn't be discounting or just giving what I know away without, truly reinvesting in myself?
Yeah, absolutely. At first I think we all have that a little bit of self-doubt, like, do I really have enough knowledge to pass on and charge people for? Is this really something that people would pay for? And I had worked with a number of coaches, so I certainly knew that it was, but of course you always have those doubts about yourself, like, am I good enough to be doing this? And then I realized sort of at a certain point, yes, I've been doing this for a long time. I've won a number of titles. I feel like I do have a lot of knowledge and experience to really impart on people. That combined with my experience in education as an attorney, I think has also been very helpful to my coaching business. So I said, yeah, you know, I think I am going to do this, and I'll see how it starts. And I certainly started out at a much lower rate than I charge now. And it began to learn more of my value. But at the same time, you know, I think people appreciate my services, and I certainly love all of my clients. But it honestly is, though, something I love it so much that I would do it for free. I shouldn't tell my clients that, but I would do it for free because I love it so much. I love working with women. My clients also make me feel enriched when I'm done working with them, and I love seeing the journey that they take as well and how much they grow as contestants and just as human beings. So it's really fun for me. It's something I enjoy, and it's brought a lot of joy to my life over the past almost 2 years now. Absolutely. That I've started my coaching business.
Yeah, well, and it shows in your dedication to your clients. I'm a product of that, and I can say every time I'm with you, it's just, it naturally feels like you genuinely care about what you're doing. It's not a, okay, you know, we've got an hour, what is it that we want to talk about? It's up, you know, and I've had those experiences where you start out and you learn and you move through it, and so you see the different styles, but you genuinely see the care that you have in the work that you're doing. Did you run into a challenge, and this can even go back to pageant, so personal or professional at this point with this question, what are some challenges that you faced, whether it was when you entered the pageant industry and you overcame it, or if you want to answer from the lens of starting up your coaching business, was there a challenge in that process, and how did you overcome that? And I'll let you answer both or either that you would feel comfortable answering.
Sure. I think probably some of the biggest challenges were actually when I first started, I was like 20 years old. At that time period and era, I should say, you know, 26 years ago, pageantry was very much like you aged out at 26, 28. It certainly evolved a lot now, and now there are a lot more systems, and there's a lot more inclusivity as far as ages and different things like that. I then became re-involved in pageantry. I think from about the age of 28 until 35, I hadn't competed. And then I started competing as a married woman, or wanted to get involved in competing as a married woman at age 35, and really wasn't sure how to get back into pageants. So that was definitely a big challenge. I just did a lot of research on my own. I did hire a coach because I'd been out of, you know, the pageant world for quite a while, and thought I should hire a coach, figure out what I need to do to get myself on track, because I did sign up for the, at that time, the Mrs. DC America pageant, which is the preliminary to Mrs. America, and it's a really heavy hitter system. You get women who have previously been like Miss Teen USA and competed at Miss USA and competed around the world in high-level pageantry. So it was a very competitive system, and women in DC are also extremely accomplished. Yes. So I knew I was going to have a lot of competition, really wanted to try to get myself up to speed. And that was a challenge, I think, sort of just getting back into the pageant industry and figuring things out, and going from, you know, the 90s era of pageantry up to 2013. And here I was, and I was thinking I needed to wear nylons and all these different things that were not, you know, needed in pageantry anymore. But I'm like, no, but I need to wear nylons. And my coach is like, no, nobody wears nylons anymore. And I whipped out my handy suit that I had, and she's like, no, we don't wear the business suits anymore. And I'm like, really? I have to wear a dress? Oh my gosh, is that okay? So it was, you know, sort of relearning things and modernizing.
I crack up because I think back to, you know, I too stopped at one point, and I remember at one point, you know, those suits, the two-piece pantsuits that you had on, and, you know, it was way different, and it changes to that point that you shared earlier. It's continued to adapt to trends both in fashion and just both in life as well, and the phases that women have gone through, and the changes that we've made in our choices in life as well, I would probably say. So that's pretty amusing. For, you know, those people that don't understand, what the concept is around a coach, right? And why the need for a coach. And I think you've spoken to that quite well when you've shared, you wanted to get back into it, you wanted that additional direction. There are some coaches that also specialize in different things and some that are more broadly. And so why would someone that doesn't know, so to answer that question for people that don't know much about the industry and maybe they're just learning that there are coaches, right? Like, how do we explain that to them, right? Like, why does that exist? Why is that a valid and a great component to industry?
Sure. I think, again, that goes to that your average person who doesn't know much about pageantry doesn't necessarily realize how much goes into preparing for a pageant. Similar to when I first got involved in pageantry, I just thought a bunch of pretty women showed up, threw on a gown, walk on stage, and threw on a swimsuit. And that's it. There wasn't a whole lot of preparation.
Yeah.
But there really is. I mean, most people who are winning major pageants have had years and years of coaching and preparation and experience, because there's so much more that goes into it than like a pretty dress. And frankly, wardrobe is actually a minor part of a pageant. Mm-hmm. What really wins most pageants, especially the ones that have really a high scoring component in interview, is your personal interview with the judges. Mm-hmm. Because essentially what a pageant is a pageant is looking to hire a spokesperson for their system or their business. And pageants are big business now in the United States. Hundreds of millions of dollars are spent on pageants and the related industry each year. So really, in order to get ready for that, you really need to learn, number one, about the system. I help people figure out exactly what their system is about. What is the mission? What are they looking for in their winners? I research the past winners. Those types of things, so that and knowing exactly what the scoring components are and what is going to be most important when someone's concentrating on participating and competing in a certain pageant. Because every pageant has a certain component that usually is a standout as to what that particular system is looking for. Right. And basically that's what I train women in. And now also a big part of pageantry nowadays is also branding and social media, and also training contestants on how to really make sure that they have a great social media presence, that they're also working on their branding and making sure that everything that's coming across for them online is also in line with that pageant and what they're looking for. Yeah. And also is a branding that's going to help them stand out so that they don't look like every other contestant. And that's a really important part of it as well. And there, of course, there is the fun part as well, helping people pick out wardrobe and accessories and styling and hair and makeup choices and photographs, those types of things as well. And that's fun, and walking, stage presence. But I think nowadays there's a lot more meat to pageant coaching, and it really has to do with developing that inner character. And also mental preparation, I think, is something a lot of people don't realize. You can really get psyched out for a pageant, and you really need that mental preparation to get your confidence levels up really high so that when you show up at that pageant, you are mentally ready to compete. That's a huge component of pageantry. I think that a lot of people also don't understand, and I didn't understand when I first got involved. Until I showed up at a pageant I'd really prepared for, but mentally I was not in the right space to continue and do well in that pageant.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've been peppering you with a bunch of questions. So was there something you were hoping to get out there that we wanted to kind of converse about for a little bit before I continue for the next few minutes?
Let me see. No, I would just say, that if somebody's thinking about getting into pageantry, definitely hire a coach, and also please hire a coach before you actually choose what system you want to get involved in, because coaches are also really great at sort of talking with you and interviewing you and figuring out what type of system based on what they know about pageantry might be best for you, so you can really showcase the different attributes that you have that make you special and unique, and also find that pageant that's right for you, where you're really going to shine. Because not every pageant is for every woman, and not every woman is going to do well in every type of pageant system.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a powerful message. And I think it speaks to your earlier comment about the differences between one system to the next and what they're looking for in each one. And having that experience, whether it's someone who's been in the industry for nearly 30 years, you know, you've seen a good amount, you've competed in a good amount, so you have that know-how, and so they can help you figure out which space you want to be in. What are you hoping for out of it, and where can they recommend best that you go through? So International Ms. is around the corner. How are you how are you plugged into the systems that you have been a part of? So we talked about Ms. America, we talked about the 3 different titles at the national and international level that you've held. Do you stay plugged in with those systems personally, and what is your involvement look like when International Ms. rolls around here next week?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all depends on the system. International Ms. is one of my favorite systems just because I do feel it's an amazing system for women over the age of 26 who are interested in pageantry. I like that it's inclusive and that, you know, whether you're married, unmarried, single, divorced, widowed, it does not matter. Any status like that, have children, no children, 8 children, they don't care. They just want, you know, amazing, accomplished women, and I love that about the system. So I have stayed very much involved with them. I have a partnership with them as far as coaching, but I also do sponsor because to me, community service was the legacy that I really wanted to leave behind in service in general. In pageantry, I do sponsor a community service award for someone who's competing in the pageant. I've stayed involved in that way as well, because to me it's really important to highlight as well the women who are really involved in community service and reward them for that involvement and commitment. I stayed involved with a lot of other systems as well. The Miss system, again, was sort of how I got started. Loved how that started as a scholarship program. And currently I'm involved as well, still with the local Miss Maine organization and helping to prepare their candidate Miss Maine for Miss America, as well as just assisting generally with getting their contestants stage ready.
Yeah.
And also offering private coaching to those ladies as well for those who would want it. But I try to stay involved. If I love a system, I'm definitely going to be involved for a lifetime. I'm one of those people, especially with International Ms. I love Laura Clark, the founder and director of International Ms. She also is the director for Miss Earth USA, and she's fabulous. She's an amazing person. And again, I've also made a lot of friends through pageantry, so those people tend to keep me involved in certain systems as well. And Laura is someone who I feel like has also become a friend, and she's a wonderful person.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, I'm so looking forward to getting a chance to meet her. Hopefully we can bring her on here at some point too to talk about the amazing work she's doing for both of those systems that she has a direct role in. And for those of you that are curious, we talked about International Ms. coming up. It is coming up pretty quickly out in Orlando, Florida next week. Tickets are available, so those are available online. I think the hotel's even still available too for you to book, which is a crazy awesome rate for Orlando, Florida. And then they are also raising funds for the mental health initiative. So Still She Rose, there are ways that you can help out with that, whether it's attending the gala that's held during the pageant weekend. Tickets are available for that, and or the People's Choice Awards. That is a way to support a contestant, but you're actually donating and investing in that health initiative of Still She Rose. So we'll include some of those links in the chat for you folks that are interested in either following along the journey of some of the contestants that are in there, aka myself as well, you know, or or investing in some of those efforts around mental health, which are super important. For people that are interested in finding you online on social media, where can they access you? Are you on social media, and what are your handles?
Yes, I'm on Facebook and on Instagram as Mikel Reed Carroll, MIKELLREEDCARROLL. And they can also find my handle for Carroll Crown Consulting, which is just Carroll Crown Consulting. But they can find me under either of those and message me if they're interested in either just following me and some of my contestants, or if they're interested in getting coaching services for a pageant. before choosing a future pageant to compete in.
And do you have a website that people can also go to, or is most of it going to be through your social channels? Because I do know that you stay super active on all of your social platforms.
Yes, I'm active on all my social platforms. I am working on getting a website. That's something I'm not as gifted in, and my husband's going to help me with that. I would say one of my big weaknesses is not being people's tech savvy when it comes to like setting up a website. So he's going to help me with that, but eventually I will have an awesome website, and you'll be able to find that on my socials once I do get that set up.
Okay, well, perfect. Well, stay tuned. Reach out to Mikkel if you have any questions about the pageant industry, competing, if you have kiddos that want to compete, you're just curious about kind of the behind the scenes, everything that we've talked on, from challenges that you are looking to overcome, to the development that's there, to what is the purpose behind the industry and how to even get plugged into the system. We've had our awesome title holder that's an on here, 3-time title holder at the national and international level, and has been in the industry for over 26 years. You can find the details of her social media channels. We'll also go back and try and include them in the chat for us, for those of you that are tuned in. We're always streaming here live on KUHS Denver on Fridays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. This segment is branded as Health and Wealth with the Self-Care Boss. I will not be on here next Friday though, so what we might do is replay something, or I'll have Henry tune something in, and then I will come back to you all with an update on how amazing it was to be out in Orlando. I'm really looking forward to meeting a lot of those women that are in the system. They are so accomplished, they are driven, and it is really inspirational to be among them all. So stay tuned for the recap of International Ms. Stay with me as we close out Mikkel, and thank you all for tuning in to KUHS Denver. Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm like, my face is all raw from the microneedling. Well, then I had gone and done Botox, and the lady had messed it up, and so I had to go back yesterday to fix that. So it's like...
Have you ever had microneedling done before?
Is it still on?
Yeah, literally on top. Just it's
This one?
down below.
This one right here?
Yeah.
You want me to hit stop?